Is this thing on? Yes, it is. Praise the Lord, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Before I get started with a quick Bible study, I'm going to do a couple announcements. First announcement is I want to remind everybody about our little fund here, the video equipment fund. I ask that everybody, along with your normal tithes and offerings that goes in this bucket here, we also have another bucket here, which is mainly focused on church-needed items that we need. Sound equipment. I'm going to talk to Pastor. I'm sure he'd be okay with it, but I want to up that a little bit. And right now we have $2,000 on there, and that is for video equipment. That is what we need. But I'm going to add, I think I was thinking about it earlier, probably about 500. And I want to add that for lighting. So I think as far as the sound equipment and the lighting, that's really the only thing we really need to upgrade ASAP. And cabinets, but that's we can do that. But lighting, I think the ultimate plan is to take these old school lights down and just replace them with very few little LED lights, and that takes money, as we know. So that will be what that's for. Are you all right with that? Yeah. So we'll up it to 25 for video equipment and lighting. Well, let's call it lighting electrical, because there's a little bit of electrical work that needs done in here. So, yeah. And again, on the way here, I asked her, I said, is next week the deliverance? Because time is a vapor. It's already the next deliverance service. April is almost over. Like that. Man. Yeah, so next Sunday will be our mass deliverance service. We have that on the first Sunday of the month at 6 p.m. So be ready for that. Bring people. Yeah. Bring somebody. Bring your friends. Bring your family. Bring somebody, because I mean it's amazing what's happening here. It's amazing what's happening in this church. And I thank God for that. The power of God is absolutely strong and heavy in here. So there you go. All right, now we will get started here. I'm going to do a parable Bible study. We're going to talk in Matthew chapter 20. Matthew chapter 20. This is something that I'm going to try and do real quick. I mean, everybody knows that I preach or teach for like hours, and I won't do that, I promise. I'll try and go through this as quick as possible. But this is something that I always wondered about, and I was very confused about this, because I've heard the Bible studies, I've heard the sermons, I've heard preachers and teachers, whatever, talk about this parable, and I was always confused about it. I didn't understand how to take it, I guess, how to take it. Until I started researching it, digging into it, really studying it, and then the way I'm going to teach it today is a whole different angle of what you may have heard in the past, or what you may even think about this parable. I'm going to give you a different point of view about it. So this is the parable of the workers in the vineyard. That's Matthew chapter 20. I'll go ahead and get started and read through the story here in the King James Version. Verse 1 says, "For the kingdom of heaven is like unto a man that is an householder, which went out early in the morning to hire laborers into his vineyard. And when he had agreed with the laborers for a penny a day, he sent them into his vineyard. And he went out about the third hour and saw others standing idle in the marketplace, and said unto them, Go ye also to the vineyard, and whatsoever is right I will give you. And they went their way. Again he went about the sixth and ninth hour, and did likewise. And about the 11th hour he went out and found others standing idle, and saith unto them, Why stand ye here all the day idle? They say to him, Because no man hath hired us. He saith unto them, Go ye also into the vineyard, and whatsoever is right, that shall ye receive. So when every one was come, the Lord of the vineyard saith unto his steward, Call the laborers and give them their hire, beginning from the last unto the first. And when they came there were hired about the 11th hour, they received every man a penny. But when the first came, they supposed that they should have received more, and they likewise received every man a penny. And when they had received it, they murmured against the good man of the house, saying, These last have wrought but 1 hour, and thou hast made them equal unto us, which have borne the burden and heat of the day. But he answered one of them and said, Friend, I do thee no wrong. Didst not thou agree with me for a penny? Take that is, and go thy way, and I will give unto this last even as unto thee. It is not lawful for me to do what I will with mine own. Is thine eye evil, because I am good? So the last shall be first, and the first last, for many be called, but few chosen. So that's the text from the Bible, King James. Now, to summarize that real quick, what does that mean? I want you to picture two places, a vineyard and a marketplace in town. I want you to picture that. We've seen them. If you're familiar with any cities, we've seen them here in the city. People will, some of us may have even done this, but people will get up early, and you've seen it in movies too, but they'll get up early, they'll go to a marketplace, or a street, let's just say a street. They'll go into the street, and they will sit there and wait for people to come and hire them for the day as a laborer. That's what we're talking about here. And what happens is that the employer or the person that needs help for that day or week, whatever it may be, will go to this spot and hire some people out of a group that's waiting for work, right? So that's what he did. He went early in the morning, way early in the morning. He got him a couple people. They went to work on his vineyard. And then he went back a few hours later to get a couple more people. Then they went and worked at his vineyard. Then he went a couple hours later and got some more people. They went and worked. And then a couple hours later, he went back and he got some more, and they went and worked. All right? Now keep that in mind. Long story short is, and this is how it always confused me, because I was thinking, here's what happened. So at the end of the day, and a normal work day back then was 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. That was a normal day. All right, that's a 12-hour day. We do have that nowadays, but not really. Some places do. So there was people there working all day long up until 6 p.m. And there was people that came in at 5 p.m. and worked for 1 hour, when other people came in at 6 a.m. and worked all day in the heat. And when the day was over with, he gathered up the workers and he said, I want the people that came in late to get their pay first. And then we will go down the line, and then the people that came in at 6 will get their pay. Now, the people that came in at 5 o'clock got the same amount of money that the people that came in at 6 a.m. got. Now, you see where I'm going here? I see some head shaking. Because you're probably thinking what I used to think. But again, I got a different angle at this. And that's why it confused me, because I said, I would be mad. If I'm out here in the heat and in the sun, I'm breaking my back, I'm all dirty, sweaty, I've worked for 12 hours, and you're telling me this guy that came in at 5 o'clock is getting the same amount of money that I am? If you're going to give him a penny, at least give me 5. I've been here all day. That's what I used to think. And it kind of still do, right? I mean, would you be upset if you were in the 6 a.m. person's shoes? Yeah. And that's why it really confused me, because when I've heard this story, I tried to go at it and think about it. Like, what is he trying to say here? What is Jesus saying? Because this is a parable. And what is a parable? The dictionary says a simple story used to illustrate a moral or spiritual lesson as told by Jesus. That is what a parable is. It's a short story. Now, with that being said, keep in mind that the people that were in the marketplace waiting for work, it does specifically say here, if you look at where is it at? Yeah, right here. About the 11th hour. Okay, the 11th hour is 5 p.m. That's what the 11th hour is. He went out and found others standing idle, and saith unto them, Why stand ye here all the day? All right, that's very important. All the day, idle. And then they said unto him, Because no man had hired us. No man wanted us. All right, now, stay with me now. Imagine, you're one of these laborers, okay? Let's start there. You're one of these laborers, and it's your job, or you choose to do this type of work. So you get up every morning and you go to the marketplace and you stand at the, let's just call it a temp agency. Let's call it that. So you go to and you stand at a temp agency and you wait for people to come and hire you for the day. Okay? That's your job. That's what you do. It's what you choose to do. Or maybe that's what you're only able to do. So you go and you're standing there and people come, and the way it works is the person that's hiring picks the people that he wants to take for the day. So the person comes and he says, okay, I'll take you, I'll take you, I'll take you. What kind of work do you do? Okay, I'll take you. And he takes his pick. And I think of that as like a dodgeball, right? Nobody wants to be picked last in dodgeball, right? Or basketball, whatever. If you have team captains and you're picking teams, you don't want to be the last guy, because what does that mean? Nobody really wanted me. All right, I mean, that's what it is. Now, I can imagine being somebody at the temp agency that if you're looking for somebody to work for you that day, that you're probably looking for the big, strong guys, maybe younger guys, more energy people. You know, if you have to go and you have to pick between an older man or a young guy, and the older man's just kind of leaning over there waiting for some work, you're probably going to pick the younger guy, right? So that's how I see it when these guys say, we've been here all day, but nobody wanted us. We're sitting here, we're stressing out, we're trying to figure out how we're going to eat, and nobody wants to give us any work. I want to work. I've been here all day. I've been here since 6 a.m. in the morning. I want to work, but nobody's giving us any work. I'm going to go home and have to go home to my family and say, I didn't make any money today. Sorry, we don't get to eat. Okay? Now, here's the angle that I wanted us to go in. When we hear this story, we always think about the all-day people and how they worked all day and got the same amount of pay as the guys that came in at 5 o'clock. I want to look at this story as being the person that came in at 5 o'clock. Okay? That's how I want to look at this story. You're standing there all day in the marketplace. You're stressed out. You're crying. You're upset. I got to go home, tell my family I ain't going to have any money. We don't get to eat tonight. And then you look and somebody's coming at 5 o'clock when you're about to say, just give up, throw in the towel. And somebody comes and says, hey, come with me. I need you for the day, the rest of the day. Imagine how happy that person was, or people. Oh, I was about to pack up and go home. But this guy, he's going to give me a shot. And I only have to work an hour. So he goes, they go, and they put in an hour's work. And then when time comes, 6 o'clock rolls around, and it's time to get paid. That 5 o'clock guy goes first. Now imagine this. Remember, picture you are the person that went in at 5 o'clock. He comes by to give everybody their paycheck or their coin, whatever it is. And he hands you a penny. The same pay that he gives everybody else. Imagine how happy and thankful that guy that went in at 5 o'clock was. Can you imagine that? Oh, thank you, Lord. I get to eat tonight. And I only had to work an hour. That is a blessing. That's a blessing. That is how I want to look at this story. And I think that may be what the story is about. Remember, the landowner said, I want the people that came in late to get their pay first, and then the people that came in at 6 o'clock in the morning and get their pay last. I think that was a test. I think that was a test to see what the people that came in at 6 o'clock, how they would react to the people that came in at 5. Because the people that came in at 5 got a blessing. And I want you to remember that if you're in that situation, if you're ever in that situation, wouldn't you want to have a blessing like that? These guys got a blessing. People came in at different times during the day, and the people at 6 o'clock were very mad. But the point of this story is the people that came in at 5 o'clock got a blessing. They got a blessing. They were able to eat because of that man that had them work for 1 hour. Deuteronomy chapter 15 says, I don't have that written down apparently. Yeah, let's turn there. Let's see what that says. Turn with me there. Deuteronomy 15, verses 7 through 8. And it says, if there be among you a poor man of one of thy brethren within any of thy gates in thy land, which the Lord thy God giveth thee, thou shalt not harden thine heart, nor shut thine hand from thy poor brother. But thou shalt open thy hand wide unto him, and shalt surely lend him sufficient for his need in that which he wanteth. This guy that came in at 5 o'clock got a blessing. He got a blessing. He was so very thankful. And that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to bless people. And that's what this landowner was doing. He went in all day long to get different people. And he got somebody at 5 o'clock, somebody that was sitting there in the marketplace, was worried, crying, probably depressed, upset. I've been here all day, and I ain't got no money now. I wasted my whole day sitting here waiting for somebody to come get me. 5 o'clock rolls around, and he gets that one day's pay. He gets that penny. He gets that penny. That's a blessing. Now gets to go home and tell his wife and his kids, hey, you ain't going to believe what happened. You're not going to believe what happened. I was waiting all day, and I was about to give up. And this guy came and gave me a shot to work for 1 hour and he gave me the same pay that he gave everybody else. The same pay. You say, well, what's that mean? It means that we are to bless people. We are to bless people. We may not have much. I don't have much money. I don't. Be the first to admit it. But I'll still give a big tip when I go to a restaurant, because I'm going to bless that person. That person may be having a very horrible day. You never know. And you sit there and say, oh, this service was terrible. I ain't going to give her nothing. Or him. I ain't going to give them nothing. They came up. They was rude. Well, how do you know that they didn't just get some bad news? How do you know that the person that they just dealt with spit in their face or something like that? We all have times when we're upset and we're in a bad mood or something like that. But they're still doing a job, and that blessing that they're going to get is going to change them. It's going to change them. It's going to change their mood. It's going to change their attitude. Can you imagine? It's the same thing when we go downtown or something and we see the homeless people that's sitting on the corners. We've all seen it. We've all seen them. They're sitting there. They have their signs and whatever their signs may say. But, you know, I've heard, and I've been one of them people that says, I'm not going to give them money. They're just going to go buy booze. I used to be that person, unfortunately. I did. You know, I can be honest. I can be transparent. But now when I go out and I have money, cash on me, I will put it in their bucket. I will. I don't care what they do with the money. I don't. Because we're not called to ask them what they're going to do with the money. We're not called to wonder what they're going to do with the money. We're called to give them the money. Doesn't matter what they do. They can go and they can buy booze. They can go and buy drugs. They can go and buy cigarettes. That's between them and God, not me. That ain't none of my business. I just read it in Deuteronomy. That's what we're supposed to do. We're called to do that, almost even commanded to do that. We are supposed to help the poor. And that's what we do. And that's what I believe this story is about. That's what I believe this story is about. So when you look at it at a different point of view, it really makes you think, like, wow, that really is a blessing, because it is, 100%. And you got to keep in mind that the people that started at 6 o'clock in the morning, they agreed for 1 penny. They agreed. I read that right here. And when he had agreed with the laborers for 1 penny a day, he sent them into the vineyard. They agreed for that penny. They agreed. Okay. And then it says later on down, where's that? And he said unto him, go ye also into the vineyard, and whatsoever is right I will give you. See, so at first he said 1 penny, and they agreed. Keep that in mind. And then later on throughout the day he said what is right. So the people that went at 11 and at 2 and at 5 o'clock didn't even know what they was going to get, because the landlord said what is right. What is right. Then they all got the same amount of pay. Now, the people on the end, yes, they're upset because I've been here all day, but that's what you agreed to. Doesn't matter what this guy got. You agreed to 1 penny for that day. Now, 1 penny in then times is probably, I don't know. Anybody know what the equivalent would be? 100 days pay. So, I mean, I guess what an average day's paid for the average person nowadays, but 1 penny is what they agreed on, and that's what they got. Now, that is a blessing also. They went to get work. They went to the workplace to get work. They got work at 6 o'clock in the morning. They agreed to do a whole day's work, and they got paid for that whole day's work. That's a blessing too, because they got paid. Just like this person that went in at 5 o'clock, they got paid the same amount, but only had to work an hour. And that's a blessing also. So that's the point I'm trying to make here, is the people that went in at 5 o'clock got a blessing, and it changed them. It changed their life, I'm sure, by that landowner. And then we look at the last verse, which is very well could be a whole different sermon or teaching in itself. But the last verse says, so the last shall be first, and the first last, for many be called, but few chosen. Many are called, but few chosen. In a general sense, the first are the privileged, prestigious, and selfish who get ahead in this life while defying God's commandments. But they will receive the condemnation in the life to come. The last, though rejected by the world, will receive a great reward in heaven. So many people will hear the gospel, but they will not listen. Only a few, very few people will be saved. Only very few. You could go and you could preach to thousands and thousands of people, but there's only going to be a handful of people. We're talking about unbelievers here. Like, say, like we went downtown yesterday, preaching on the street. There was quite a few people that walked by, and there was quite a few people that stopped in and actually listened. But everybody else, nope, they just walked on by, didn't care at all. Didn't care at all. So many people hear the gospel, but they will not listen. We could tell them whatever, they could see miracle after miracle, and they will not listen. That's just the way it is. That's what that means. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they heard it. See, that's what we do. We plant seeds. We plant seeds, and once the seed's planted, it's off of us. Well, it's off of our hands. We go out, we tell them, hey, this is what needs to happen. And in the short time that I did it yesterday, I was trying to get all the important stuff in there. And the first one being that you don't have time. That's important. And then I try to throw in, what is salvation? What does it take to be ready? And I threw in deliverance, and I threw in, the end of the world is coming. So I try to get all that in there, but still, people, they just won't listen, and then that's not on us. We have to remember that. Sometimes we, as pastors and ministers and evangelists and all that, we can be a little discouraged by that. Like, I didn't have one person listen to me yesterday. Well, we did. We did. We had lots of people. There was people around the corner that I guarantee. I kept looking over there, and I see them. They were watching, and they could hear it. Maybe barely because it was a bullhorn, but they could hear it. The point is, sometimes you won't know when people's listening. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There's people that could have been a block this way around the corner that was listening, and they didn't want us to see them listening. But if you look at the video, you can see there were people that was listening, and I'm very thankful for that, grateful for that. But then nowadays, we also have the power of what? The internet. The internet. There's only, I don't know how many people are in here, but there's people that's going to watch this later, this whole service. There's people that's going to watch it. They're watching now from home. We have that power to use that technology now. So whenever you think nobody's listening, there are people listening. Always remember that. So that's my interpretation of this story. It's about blessing people. It's about the blessing that the people that went in at 5 o'clock got. And I think that's amazing. And I think that's what we need to do, is we need to bless people more than what we currently do. And it doesn't have to be money, not just money. Blessings come in many different ways. It doesn't just have to be money. I mean, if you're riding down, I don't know, say you're riding down the street and you see somebody that's with a flat tire and you stop and help them, that's a blessing, right? You just made their day right there. If you see somebody walking around in Walmart and they're looking a little upset, mad, maybe a little depressed, hey, what's going on? Can I pray for you? That's a blessing. Something I almost did yesterday, but I didn't. I probably should have. But like I said earlier, we were walking around after that, and there was a group down here in the middle of the park, and there was a guy that kept walking around and circling. They were screaming at each other. I mean, bad cuss words. Hey, I'm going to blah, 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 fighting. And I wanted to go down there and say, hey, guys, come on. Let's chill out. What's going on? What's the problem? I wanted to do that, but I decided not to because the baby and everything. But that would have been a blessing to them. Whether they received it or not, it still could have changed them. It could have changed their attitude. It could have made this guy not want to hurt this guy anymore. That's a blessing. That's the point I'm trying to make. Let's bless people more. Let's do that. In Jesus' name, we'll have worship come on up now, and we'll get going. Yeah.
Because of yesterday and what he's talking about. So there was a young man that was out there that his mother had passed away, right? And we all kind of pitched in. And Pastor Aaron and Sam, I seen them come by. It was like 4:30 or 4 when I seen them go by East Street in Washington. I'm like, man, they're doing something downtown. But I seen them drive by. I was like, surely it's not them, but it was. But so I was taking the young man. We'd all pitched in and took that young man I took him home to get dressed, changed clothes, get him some clothes, then brought him back down to the bus station. It was just, havoc because it was so hard to try to get this done. But we got it done for him. And when I dropped him off, he was in tears. And he said, I want you to thank everybody at your church for what they did for me today. And so that was the blessing yesterday. And so if you guys ever want to study on parables, right? Man, it's amazing. And the first hint to every parable, because a parable is a comparable story that Jesus would talk. And so the number one hint that he always talks about says right off the bat, the kingdom of heaven is like this. And then he tells the story. And so that story that Pastor Aaron was talking about, that parable, shows you how much God really loves you because he's the owner. He's the boss. And whatever, and the point to the whole parable is it doesn't matter when you come to the Lord to give your life up. You could be on your last breath. He still gives you glory and walking in glory. And that shows you how much God really loves us all, every one of us. You could change your life the last breath and you still get that full day's pay like the man at 5 o'clock. And so that's how beautiful our Lord is, how much he loves us. All right,